Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3Wide TV, tonight's broadcast of the Gunskins.com 200 from the Auto Club Speedway. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth alongside me here tonight is Mr. Carlos Acosta for all 200 miles that we will have around this racetrack. As you can see, Carlos Acosta hates the interns, and that would be me. We're hot off a fantastic race at Homestead Miami Speedway a week ago, where Greg Evans picked up win number 2 on the season. Your reigning Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series champion. Already 2 wins to his name this year. And Carlos, Greg Evans was the driver who won this race 1 year ago.
Yeah, that's true. And so far, he's got perfection when it comes to ASRS racing competition. As a matter of fact, we can go ahead and pull up the points. And he's going to try to win 3 in a row. And you may know more about this than me, but I don't think that's happened before in ASRS history. I might be wrong in that.
I would have to go back and look at the tapes. And there are quite a few tapes in the long storied history of the American Esports Association Premier Cup Series, but I don't believe we have ever seen it here on 3Wide TV. I know Greg Evans has won back-to-back races. He did that last season, but I don't think we've ever seen back-to-back-to-back. And as you can see up at the top of the point standings, a pretty healthy lead for your reigning series champion here tonight. Everyone in the field, all 39 other drivers, will be looking to try and knock him off the top here. Scott Eckrich in the number 70 machine, fastest in practice, though. Great run for Scott Eckrich in that number 70 machine here in practice. We'll see if he can replicate that here in the Midwest Simulations pole qualifying. That's going to happen here in just a little bit here on 3Wide TV. As you can see, the points whittling all the way down to the bottom of the point standings down there. Big field here tonight in the American Sim Racing Series, as always. And Carlos, I'm looking forward to tonight's Gunskins.com California 200, because this racetrack, Auto Club, always puts on a good show for the fans.
It does. And if I remember correctly, last year's race seemed a little bit short. It was like about an hour and a half, maybe a little bit more than that. And it had quite a decent amount of cautions. Not too bad. Nothing to complain about, but also decent enough to keep the competition active and alive. So definitely a thrilling race. And we have seen both in iRacing and in real life where iRacing can really thrive in terms of showing as to what can happen.
Yeah, that is for sure. You can see we're going to jump over into the Midwest Simulations pole qualifying. Make sure you check out Midwest Simulations. Definitely their Spotlights product is one of the best products in all of iRacing, so make sure you go check them out. Yes, who needs a spotter when you have Spotlights? Brought to you by Midwest Simulations. We're watching the number 94. That is Corey Silva working his way out onto the racetrack here right now. We'll see if he can pick up the Midwest Simulations pole award. He, of course, wasn't in the series last year, but already starting to make some noise early back in the Premier Series this year. And I gotta say, it was a bit of a shame not having Corey Silva in the field last year full time, but this year I'm expecting big things out of this number 94, because we saw a lot of pace out of him back in the 2019 Hacksaw PC Premier Cup Series season, and I'm sure here tonight he will be on the loud pedal, already working his way through turn number 1 and 2, going to go all the way down to that white line. We're going to see quite a bit of that here in qualifying. Not quite sure if we're going to see all the drivers down there on the white line during the middle of the race. This racetrack notorious for having multiple different grooves of racing. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on to see if the groove widens out as the race goes on. Here is Jared Haggerty, the number 6 machine, going to go across the start-finish line to begin his qualifying lap. And we'll start to see those qualifying times on the left-hand side of the screen populate here very shortly. As I say that, it is Jeff Yenich in the 89 machine, first driver to take time, but he's quickly dethroned off the top by that number 94 machine. We were just talking about him, Corey Silva, as Michael Krobach now going to slot up into second place provisionally, Carlos.
Yeah, these guys are definitely out here. They're not going to leave anything behind. Starting position is going to be very important, all right? 200 miles is a lot in theory, but this race is going to go by quick, as we see right there. Steve Yenish from Yenish Bros Racing. Get loose, and unfortunately, it looks like that lap will have to be abandoned because he didn't get an X, but at the same time, his tires are hot, and he's not going to be able to post a decent lap. But yeah, the speeds these guys are carrying, especially into NASCAR 1 or Turn 1, is very quick, and it can lead to major catastrophe if somebody makes a mistake.
Tyler Seville, the number 11, the Will Warser Racing Machine, going to jump to top of the board, and we have seen him pick up victories here in Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series at 2-mile racetracks. Last year, getting the win at Michigan. So great lap there for Seville, that 40.415. Just 6/1000ths of a second faster than the number 94 Corey Silva. As you see, one of the Beef Jerky's cheesecakes machines work its way around the racetrack. Always got to say, those are some very fun-looking race cars, that being Adam Jersky himself. No Greg Rentz this week. We'll have him back on the broadcast next week, so we'll get to find out what Greg Rentz's cheesecake of the race is next week. But maybe we can come up with one up here in the booth there, Carlos, at some point here tonight. Jersky going to slot into lucky number 13 there on this qualifying lap.
Unfortunately, not because of the second lap, since he ended up tapping the wall exiting 4. So the time that he has is from his first lap, which I don't know. At this track, even though the corners you have to slow down, do you feel like you're going to be faster in your second lap than your first lap?
Well, I was trying to see amongst some of these drivers, like Tyler Seville, to see if he picked it up on lap number 2. Seville definitely picked it up on lap number 2. Looking at the charts, ran a 41.03 on lap number 1. Lap number 2 was about 0.6 of a second faster. So lap number 2 is the money lap. It's a lap you don't want to screw up. And unfortunately, for drivers like that number 69, I think he did screw up that second lap. And with his first lap being a very respectable 40.67, questions will be asked what he could have done on lap number 2. Your points leader, Greg Evans, he's currently down there in 8th spot on the scoring pylon. But at least for right now, Tyler Seville is about 30 seconds away from picking up tonight's Midwest Simulations Pole Award, which will be one thing that we have definitely seen quite a bit out of Tyler Seville. Quite a bit of pace in that number 11 machine.
Yeah, definitely. We know he has the speed, and he is capable of winning races. So we need to see if he can bump up those numbers this year. So 13 seconds left to go, and if you're wondering, especially if you followed ASRS all of last year as to, and thinking in your head, wow, 13 seconds left to go, that went by really, really quickly. No, it did not go by really, really quickly. Those 5 minutes were in fact 5 minutes. But these guys this year, because of an update that iRacing recently released, have the ability to do a little mock warm-up. So you have 5 minutes to warm up, get yourself some last second, maybe a couple laps of practice. Initially, this was due to the fact that the guys wanted to test out where their pit stalls would be, but unless I'm mistaken, it looks like it doesn't actually update where your pit stall is supposed to be after qualifying. However, that could just be a mistake from what I was hearing. I don't know, Peter, if you know any more about that.
Yeah, well, Tyler Seville, he came off pit road like 3/4 of the way down, not at the very end. And we know that Tyler Seville picking up that Midwest Simulations Pole Award here for tonight's Gunskins.com 200. He will have the very first pit stall at the end of pit road. So you're right, Carlos. It doesn't seem to update your pit box and where you're going to roll off on pit road. But, speaking of pit road, this is a wonderful time. This warm-up, these 5 minutes, it's a wonderful time for these drivers to actually practice getting to pit road. That's one thing that a lot of drivers overlook in the actual practice session. Now they can go back out there. They can kind of figure out where they need to get on the brakes, because I saw a couple of drivers try it right at the end of the practice session, and a couple of them really struggled. The 41 of Tim Knott had a big moment, missed getting to pit road. He got loose out of turn number 4, and it kind of snowballed. So maybe Tim Knott will be one of those drivers practicing getting to pit lane here. We have a couple. Scott Eckrich right now, the number 70 machine. He's practicing getting to pit road. Adam Hoagland looked like he might have tried going down pit road to get a little bit of extra pit practice, because you never know with a racetrack like this, you can really start to get those long green flag runs. But another thing to mention, Carlos, is because of the package that these Cup cars run, tracks like California and Michigan end up being a little bit of a pack race, at least for the first 5 or so laps after these drivers get fresh tires. So we'll have to keep our eyes on that. And remember, back in the 2019 Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series, this was actually the very first race with this current Cup package. And we had a lot of question marks going into that race, and a lot of question marks were somewhat answered in that race. But as it went on, as the season went on, more and more answers were given to us. But here we are. This is now the third season where we have this current modern-day Cup package.
Correct, and unfortunately it will be the last one. Although I do have a feeling that next season, first couple races will be with the current package. But, well, you never know. iRacing did take a long time to release that Ford truck, so we don't know if, when we'll get that Generation 8 vehicle. So, Peter, we got just exactly 2 minutes before the real race is supposed to start. Let's go ahead and make a prediction or two. All right, so Greg Evans has won the first 2 races this season. He won 12 races last season, and he won this race a year ago. Is he going to win tonight and make it 3 in a row?
Oh man, that you just have to think the competition level in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series is telling me no. I mean, Evans is good, like you mentioned, won 12 times last season. He is the reigning series champion, but just the competition level's too high. There are 39 other drivers out here who they qualified themselves to be into the Premier Cup Series. It's not an easy task to get to the series. You have to be a good driver to be racing Greg Evans here. So I'm going to put my money on he will not go to victory lane. Of course, that could be the commentator's curse.
Yeah.
But
you know what? I'll say he will go to victory lane. That way it evens out. Now, one more question before we go racing. Will the person who leads the most laps in this race make a mistake in pit road that's going to cost him the race?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Again, no, I don't think so. These drivers are good drivers, Carlos. We have to give them credit. I gotta say, out of a lot of the leagues that we have broadcasted, we have watched, these guys here, the American Sim Racing Series, Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series, they know how to get into their box. They know how to get out of their box. They are good, talented drivers. And, of course, now I'm just jinxing it. We're going to see people sliding through their pit box all night long. But we also have to remember, here at Auto Club Speedway, these are the largest pit boxes in all of NASCAR. So they're the easiest boxes to get into. So that should help them out just a wee bit here tonight. Let's jump over to the chat. We got a couple of people making some noise. We got Jackson Van Valkenburg in the chat, Noble Warrior 88 saying go number 45, and Nick Curling, and the DMLC Racing Channel saying go Loud Pedal Motorsports, go. Hopefully you guys can sit back and enjoy the action here tonight on 3 Wide TV for the Gunskins.com California 200. But looks like we're going to get some cars out there onto the racetrack to get gridded for round number 3 of the 2021 Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. And starting on the pole, winning the Midwest Pole Simulations Award. I said that all backward. Midwest Simulations Pole Award. That would be the number 11 machine of Tyler Seville right there, with Scott Eckrich to his outside in the number 70 machine. On row number 2 on the inside, that would be the number 94 of Corey Silva. Will Worsler of Will Worsler Racing will be starting alongside him in P4. Doug Millens will roll off on the inside of row number 3. That's another one of those Will Worsler Racing machines, so a very good contingency of those Will Worsler Racing machines there in the top 5, taking 3 of the first 5 spots. But then rounding out your top 6, Jordan Harnish in the number 27, who's had a great start to the 2021 American Esports Association Premier Cup Series. There on row number 4, Michael Krobach, the HPPSimulation.com Ford, will be rolling off alongside your current points leader, the number 2 machine of Greg Evans. Thomas J. George and Jackson Van Valkenburg round out your top 10 there, Carlos.
Yep, in 11th place on row number 6, we have Grant Brown with Nick Curling in 12th. 13th will be Woody Mahon with Adam Jersky. Row number 8 will consist of Brian Yazik and Jeff Janich. Row number 9 will have Jamie Moore and AJ Digby. And row number 10, from rounding out the top 20, will be Danny Gutierrez and Larry Orn.
Jimmy McKee, Steve Yanish make up row number 11. Scott Eckhart and Jason Stewart, row 12. Pete Baskins, Michael Whiting, on row number 13 with Jared Haggerty, Jonathan Holstein, row number 14 back behind them. Cody Spiker and Alan Young will start P29 and P30 there, Carlos.
Yep, 31st will be Evan Black with Michael Larch in 32nd. 33rd will be Troy Haight and Adam Blattel. Anthony Pelican and Adam Hoagland in round out row number 18, with 19 being Tim Knott and Joshua Bedell. Row number 20 will consist of Mark Myers and Richard Fletcher. Those are the drivers that did not post a qualifying time, and Todd Kirkwood, I believe, is the reserve driver.
That is actually a little bit incorrect.
Incorrect.
I think Richard Fletcher and Todd Kirkwood are out there on the racetrack. So
all right, we do apologize.
Mark Myers, I think Mark Myers was the alternate, but the green flag is in the air here at the beautiful Auto Club Speedway. The Gunskins.com California 200 is underway with Tyler Seville leading them off into turn number 1.
Wow, look at that. The number 94, Corey Silva, wasted no time in pushing the 11 of Tyler Seville there to the lead, clearing both of them, as the number 29 Will Wursler is going to be dropping from 2nd to 4th and maybe 5th if the number 27 starts challenging there in a little bit of a block. I don't know if that was exactly it, but now battle for the lead as the 94 has decided he wants to lead the first lap.
Yeah, that number 94 machine digging down there on the inside line. Like you said, wants to lead the first lap. Big wiggle out the back of the number 88 machine. Thomas J. George a little bit further back. We'll find out here who's going to lead lap number 1, and it will be the number 94, Corey Silva. To the point, gets a bonus point for leading the lap here. But boy, that was a big moment a little bit further back coming out of turn number 4 for Thomas J. George. He started this race in the 9th position. He's lost the spot in the first lap, and now Woody Mahan in the number 84 machine. Mahan is sideways. There's contact between
no.
88, and that's heavy contact with the inside wall.
That's off track.
Bring out the first caution. It's off the track. It looks like it won't bring out the caution. Thomas J. George, he has a little bit of damage on the snap-on machine, but he's going to get back rolling. We'll catch this one here on the 3-wide TV replay, but watch the 84 of Mahan. He gets down there onto, I think, the white strip onto the apron. It washes up the racetrack. Back end comes out and slam-bam into the inside wall. That is pretty much going to be terminal damage, I would think, for that number 84 of Mahan.
Yeah, heavy damage to the 84 and the 88. Now, I'm not seeing anywhere on my area that the 88 has jumped to pit road, but he is currently in pit road right now. So enough damage that he had to go down pit road, maybe got a meatball flag, but he has dropped down pit road, and unfortunately, rough start to the number 88. And these guys, they know how to race. All right, so having a bunch of cautions, it's not impossible, but it's unheard of. Well, sorry, it's not impossible, but it's definitely not likely. They're going to be a couple cautions, I would expect, but nothing enough where it will help the 88 should his car be fully repairable and within competitive performance.
Thomas J. George sits in his pit box. That crew goes to work to try and get him back up to race speed. Meanwhile, we're 3 wide, a little bit further back in the pack. We're 3 wide right now for around the 12th position. Adam Jersky, Grant Brown, Danny Gutierrez, we're all 3 wide there coming down the backstretch just briefly. Now you see Gutierrez down there on the inside line right in front of Grant Brown. That is the 12th place bright green and pink machine of Adam Jersky right in front of him. So they sort things out. Meanwhile, there's some more side-by-side action further back in the pack. We saw Adam Blattel in the number 7 machine go down below the white line on the front stretch. He's trying to pick up position. This is some really crazy racing. Your front 7 or so drivers have all broken away, but back behind them, it is getting really dicey between some of these drivers.
And there were some drivers that did feel like they maybe had to check up for the incident. Of course, you're not fully sure just what exactly is going to happen when somebody gets loose in front of you, especially early on. So a bunch of these drivers are probably either upset with themselves that they maybe slowed down too much and lost a lot of positions, while others are happy that there's no caution and they just passed a couple drivers who checked up. Back to the front, though, this pack of 5 vehicles with 2 kind of like orbiting around them, kind of like a couple moons. But this main pack here with the 94 and the 11 kind of separating themselves, but nice and calm, nice and steady. Last year, when
Carlos, sorry, we almost had Evan Black cut off the nose of John Eckhart. That was a big moment coming out of turn number 2. They were able to get things sorted out. There they are, and they're going to continue to battle for that position. But sorry to cut you off there. But I thought we were going to have the second incident of the night. We'll go back and watch this one on the replay as these two drivers battled it out. In fact, Evan Black's still battling it out right now as we go live. But watch Black dive all the way down. Yeah, he was on the replay. But watch him dive all the way down, and then he kind of slides up the racetrack. It doesn't look that close from that wide-angle lens, but let me tell you, folks, that was pretty close between them. But we, of course, stay green flag. Meanwhile, Danny Gutierrez is trying to go up the middle now. Nick Curling and Michael Krobach. There he is. He's going to get 2 for 1 there. Got around Curling, got around Krobach. Gutierrez here really on a move in that 08 machine.
Going 3 wide there for about 17. Slightly, they look like they're backing off there. I'm not sure who that was. That red and almost bronze car. It might be the 00 Grant Brown. Kind of did that thing where you're on the highway and you're going to change lanes, but then you realize, oh, there's a car there as soon as you start moving, so you just dip yourself back into position. Does that kind of look like it maybe could have been a little bit scary? Does he have front end damage? No, okay, that's just the paint scheme, ladies and gentlemen. Paint scheme, the angles are very sharp. Made me think there was some front end damage, but wow, that's actually a really nice looking paint scheme.
That is definitely one good-looking ride, and that's one thing I really love to see is, oh, Grant Brown, a little bit of a wiggle out there, still wiggling, and now there's some damage on the 00 machine.
Oh, no.
Smacked the wall, Carlos, you just had to say something.
Had to open my mouth, didn't I?
Yeah, a little bit of right front damage now on the 00 machine. That's one of the Splash and Go graphics painted cars.
Oh, yeah.
You see, there's the wiggle, there's the wiggle, there's the wiggle,
oh.
and there's the wall.
He'll be fine. Maybe.
The wiggle to the wall.
Is that is that the dreaded tight loose? It looked like his car was pushing and then it just snapped.
It might very well be. This racing surface is not the youngest in the world of racing, and it is one of those where you can kind of get that tight loose type thing. It's also one of the racetracks that is very aero dependent. You can get a lot of aero push, and then you can also get a lot of aero loosen, so it just might have been the way he was around some of the other cars. We ride on board here with the number 29 machine. That is Will Warser, currently running up there inside the top 5 in the 5th spot. We look right in front of him. That is his teammate, the number 18 machine of Doug Mullen sitting there. Tyler Seville, the other Will Warser racing car inside the top 5, is currently being scored in 2nd. But don't look now, but right behind them, that would be Greg Evans in the number 2 machine. He started 8th. He's now up to 6th. Your reigning race winner here of tonight's Gunskins.com California 200. There he is, your points leader. Just got around Jackson Van Valkenburg a little bit, but the top 7 have now broken out to a 2.4 second advantage over the man leading the 8th place charge. That is AJ Digby, who is just in front of Brian Yazek.
How wonderful or wonderful also, but what's it called? What's the word I'm looking for? How amazing would it be if Greg Evans was able to win tonight's race and make it 3 in a row? Perfect so far at the start of the season, 2 in a row. If he makes it 3 in a row, he's gonna be so happy, and it's gonna. I'm not sure if it's gonna be history at ASRS, but 3 in a row is definitely impressive, even in real life and in other leagues as well. Now, I'm sure I know one person that's not going to be happy if he wins the 3rd one in a row, and that's going to be Jim Foose. But I'll tell you what, Jim Foose is a tough person. We'll just go to Menards and shake it off.
Yeah, in fact, we got Jim Foose in the chat here tonight. Nikki Warsler as well, Madge Brown. We also got Genco Racing in the chat, of course. Genco Racing, very prominent last season here in the American Sim Racing Series. And who else we got in the chat here tonight? Well, it kind of looks like that's it. But if you're in the chat right now and you're enjoying watching a little bit of American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series action here on the channel, make sure you make yourself heard, like I said. Folks, do want to make mention of Hacksaw PC, which was the sponsor for this season. And got to give a big shout out because I am running a brand new Hacksaw PC. Got it just under a month ago. Spectacular piece. If you want a new PC with some of the parts that are unobtainable, make sure you go check out Hacksaw PC. They can give you the hookup, folks. Definitely Nick over there fantastic person to work with. I am just ranting and raving about my PC put together by Hacksaw PCs. Really, really stellar stuff. Make sure you check them out next time you're in the market for a new PC. But we have seen a couple of positions change hands up inside the top 5. Greg Evans just got around Will Worsler. Worsler actually lost the 6th spot as well to Jackson Van Valkenburg, who has taken that away from Will. So Greg Evans starting to make his move to the front. And Carlos, one thing we have seen so much out of this number 2 machine is he knows how to save tires better than anyone else in the field.
Yeah, and there, right there was the pass that we were talking about, and Will Worsler is... I cannot find him. Is he dropping back? No, he okay, so yeah, it looks like when Greg Evans went by, it also opened up the inside for the number 12 of Jackson Van Valkenburg, and he was able to pass him, I'm assuming, clearing turns 1 and 2. So, Jim Foos, sorry. Will Worsler losing 2 positions, but, you know, maybe that's just what you gotta do. You gotta make sure you manage your tires, make sure you can get there to the end. And if Jim Foos needs to let 2 people go by to make sure he has a better chance to win the race at the end, then that's exactly what he should do.
That is definitely for sure. Meanwhile, we also have seen Brian Yazik get around the number 14 of AJ Digby, who's now under fire from the other Loud Pedal Motorsports machine inside the top 10. That's Michael Krobach. And Krobach able to just slide on by right there. You see, he will now inherit the 9th spot.
Whoa, somebody else!
A couple of cars kissing the wall. Digby being one of those.
I don't think Digby did touch the wall. He got loose for sure, though. He did. And I don't know if he had a chance to actually look at the weather today. I'm a little bit uncertain of what the weather is like.
The weather is...
Oh, it's not too bad.
It's pretty quiet. Pretty quiet?
Quiet?
Pretty cold. Yeah, cold, quiet, you know.
I'll tell you what, though.
Energy.
Last week, Peter, I bet this weather would have been on fire.
Well, for me, it would have been.
Yeah. For me, it's just standard Miami.
Yeah, it was actually about that today here. After last week, we had -2 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures in the state of Texas, right where I am. Today, it got up to, I think, 75 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's a cold day in Miami, for sure.
Yeah,
I'm so glad to hear that you are okay. Wow, I think that's Greg Evans or Doug Mullins going after Greg Evans. Oh, sorry, Jordan Harnish. As that's going to be a battle for 3rd place, and it looks like this might be going for Doug Mullins if he can get himself. No, it looks like that outside line's going to carry enough momentum, and the 2 will be there to provide a little bit of drafting support. As that move that Doug Mullins tried to do looks like it's going to backfire on him. But yes, anyway, glad to have you back, Peter. Last week was, oh man, let me tell you what, I had to deal with Jim Foos. Hate that guy. Andre was okay. But Jim, oh man, I couldn't wait for that race to be over. I'm just kidding, Jim, we love you. Anyway, so some things about these type of tracks, Peter, is that the high line is the slowest line, but it's perfect for defense. And if the conditions and the setups is just right, or in some people's minds, just wrong enough, you won't be able to pass anybody on the low side.
It's all right there. Here comes Mullins trying to get that position back from Evans, because Evans was able to sweep around that high line, able to pinch Mullins down close to that white line. And folks, the reason for that, the reason why we sometimes see that high line be the strong defensive line, is because you just don't have the option, if you're on that inside groove, to get that run up out of the corner. The outer line has a larger radius, so it makes a smoother transition up off the corner onto the straightaway because of that larger radius. And so if you're down on the inside groove, it's a sharper radius, and that does matter when you're driving these cars on the absolute limit. You're getting every little bit out of the tire, out of the suspension, that having to crank the wheel that much more to be just maybe 10 feet lower on the racetrack, it does matter. And it can translate to differentials on speed on the straightaway. And that's typically what you see. Those drivers using the high line, they'll be a little bit faster down the straightaway versus the car on the inside, especially when they're running side by side. So now when the car on the inside line is able to go all the way up to the wall, it kind of makes that transition onto the straightaway not as harsh. But when you're side by side, you don't get that benefit of running your car out of the corner up close to the wall, because obviously there's another car there. So anyway, speaking of that, we're seeing this a little bit further back. The 45 and the 00 getting a little bit nice and tight out there. Of course, the 00 Grant Brown right now has that damage. John Eckhart right behind him, and that's the 31 Larry Orn right there, getting himself into the mix. We're riding on board right now with Grant Brown. You see all of his sponsors there.
Just a little bit too much.
Die Hard, Raise Energy. Definitely a lot of sponsors on that 00.
I may have to lower the font, honestly. But yeah, since we saw the 00 tap that outside wall, he's been dropping like a rock. He has dropped 14 positions from where he started this race and is currently finding himself in a 25th place finish, although, at a 25th place position. Although I'm not sure if he's going to continue dropping or if he's going to be able to hold on there until he can get a caution where he can repair, repair the car. Now, Peter, in this type of race, all right, pretend you're driving and you tap the wall early on. Are you going to repair your car if you have to pit in green flag conditions, or are you going to try to wait for a yellow flag for you to do it?
Definitely gonna try and wait for a yellow flag. There's so much time to lose on pit road getting that damage repaired. I mean, it's one of those things where maybe if you have 1 or 2 seconds, you might say, okay, no big deal. But if you have anything, I'd say north of 8 to 10 seconds, anything north of that, you're just going to say, you know what, let's just wait for a caution flag, because you're just going to lose all that time out there on the racetrack, and you're going to be able to kind of feel it out. Of course, there are going to be extreme instances where you are going to want to get that damage fixed, but under a green flag position, under green flag conditions, you're just not going to want to give up that time. That is for sure, and it can make for a very long night. We're riding on board here.
Oh,
with
12 got loose.
And whoa, yeah, the number 12 of Van Valkenburg down there on the inside definitely did get a little bit slideways, and Van Valkenburg actually trying to get around the 2 of Evans. Van Valkenburg now under fire from the number 18 of Mullins, trying to go to his outside. Mullins trying to whip around that high line. We were talking about how that can sometimes be advantageous to hold that high line, especially when you're at this point on the straightaway. But now the cars in front are going to give a little bit of a draft to the number 12 of Van Valkenburg. And here comes Greg Evans, the number 2 machine. He's going for the 3rd position, trying to get around Jordan Harnish, who's actually sitting 2nd place in points. So this is 1st and 2nd in points right now, doing battle right up for 3rd position. It looks like Evans has it for now, but he has a long job in front of him to try and close in on the top 2, as Silva and Seville have pulled out to about a 2-second gap over Greg Evans.
Yeah, exactly. They've pulled out far away, and if you take a look at the lap times comparing Greg Evans to our current race leader, the only time that Curry Silva was actually slower than Evans was lap 20. The last 4 laps in a row, he's been faster and gaining. And sometimes as fast as 0.4 of a second, but this last time by, he was 9/900ths of a second slower than Greg Evans. So, now that Evans is free, he might be able to start catching these guys, although I'm not quite sure. 9/10 of a second really, 900ths of a second really isn't that much.
Absolutely, and if you're just now joining us, caution free through the first 25 laps here tonight in the Gunskins.com California 200. I'm Peter Short, and alongside me is Carlos Acosta. And I'll tell you what, Jim Foose and Sam Maxwell and everyone that puts together the American Sim Racing Series must be so excited to see what they're seeing here on the racetrack. The racing product has been stellar in the first 2 races of the year. Back to what we had at Daytona in the home net hosting 250. Last week we had the 3 wide TV 200. Daytona, we saw 2 cautions. Last week, only 1 caution. And here tonight, a lot of green flag running. Hopefully that doesn't jinx it. But I know the series officials must be so excited to see all this green flag running. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see drivers getting involved in accidents. Yes, we did see an early accident between Thomas George and Woody Mahan. Both of those cars have not made it back out onto the racing track, which is a tough break for both of them. But we're also possibly seeing the number 10 of Nick Curling. Oh, Nick Curling has had connection issues, we're hearing. And Nick Curling has fallen out of the server. Hopefully he can jump back in that number 10 machine. Now, one thing coming into tonight, Carlos, that some drivers were concerned about as we watched this side-by-side battle between the number 80 and the number 39. This is a battle for the 30th position between Baskin and Biddle. iRacing has been having a lot of issues over the past day or two with connection. A lot of people pin it down to having a certain internet service provider. iRacing last night in their big Coca-Cola sponsored race, they had basically half of the field, half of the drivers on the racetrack all of a sudden disappear. Just blink out. Race was a disaster. And so the administrators here tonight decided to move the server farm that we typically use, the East server farm located up in the Boston, Massachusetts area. Well, for this week, they kind of
27. Did you see that? Sorry.
Did not see what happened to the
a little loosey-goosey. I apologize. Go on.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, because we're now on the West Coast servers, well, a lot of people are located in the east side of the United States. So all the people on the West Coast are like, all right, well, this is great. You know, we now have a better connection. But the people on the East Coast, they now have a worse connection. So the administrators, they waived tonight's one of the rules, which is you can only reconnect once to the server. So they waived that here tonight for some of the people. So hopefully we'll get to see Nick Curling back out there on the racetrack. Speaking of the racetrack, this is a really good battle going on right now. This is back, or what position is this for?
Battle for 18th.
Yeah, we've got Cody Spiker there. We've got Evan Black. We got Jason Stewart involved in this battle as well. As you can see, Michael Larch and Alexander Pelican, or excuse me, Anthony Pelican, excuse me, trying to close in on that battle for the 18th position. But this is the type of racing you get to see here with this modern day cup package, some side-by-side, a little bit of drafting, and they kind of accordion. They kind of all of a sudden start to come back together as, oh man, that's a little bit of a bump draft. The number 3 machine of Michael Larch giving Evan Black down just a little love tap there down the backstretch.
Yes. And now to clarify on what Peter was saying, the rule is you are allowed to reconnect once. However, I believe it still stands that if you manually disconnect, you are not allowed to reconnect. Jim is in the chat, though. He may be able to clarify that for me, but I do believe that part of the rule is still in effect. Fortunately, though, it seems like today appears to be running smoothly, and as some drivers were mentioning in the ASRS drivers page, that California has been known to have really, really bad and unpredictable net coding, even on a good race. And of course, with the majority of the drivers racing on the East and Central America, it's possible that we may be seeing maybe a bit more netcode than usual, and we've already been seeing a bit more netcode than usual. However, yeah, unfortunately, iRacing has been having some issues. Good news is that what happened yesterday was definitely out of their control, and if it's related to what was also happening from Saturday-ish, because we also did a broadcast on Saturday that had to be red flagged 2 times. We've never done a red flag before, and we did it for the first time. We made it out to be a rain delay. We showed laps from the previous broadcast. That's how bad it was with people disconnecting. Even SimTV yesterday during the blackout, they had to go to a red flag, their first ever red flag. So yeah, definitely wild night in iRacing, wild couple nights probably. And if it's all connected and it's really out of iRacing's hand, then that's a real shame that it had to happen, especially on a race as important as the E-Coke Series. However, that has nothing to do with tonight's race. Tonight's race is the most important because I really want to see if Greg Evans can get 3 in a row.
Well, if you see the math, you see the lap count, Greg Evans is closing in just a little bit. It was up to about 2.3 seconds. It's now down to 1.7, so he shaved off 0.6 of a second. But it won't be all too long, Carlos, before we start talking about pit stops. We expect to see these drivers make only 1, maybe 2 pit stops here tonight. I think they can kind of go to that lap number 45 mark if they're lucky. They might be able to stretch it to 50, but we'll have to wait and see how that all pans out.
I'm not sure.
Gap, you see that gap at least between
moving up.
Greg Evans and Corey Silva. It's just closing in just a little bit, but definitely something to keep our eyes on, as it's now down to just about 1.5 seconds between Silva and Evans.
And once he gets to the back of Seville, it's gonna pick up a little bit more because he'll have the draft. He may even have a little bit of the draft now. He's only about, I would say, just under a second behind second place. But once he picks up, he'll be catching up slowly. Now the question is, will Corey Silva be able to pull away from Tyler Seville? Oh, we have drivers in pit road.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say, Carlos. We have 3 drivers coming to pit road. Now make that to 5 drivers to pit road. Brian Yazek, Jordan Harnish, Jimmy McKee, Pete Baskins, and Joshua Biddle all coming down to their pit box for the first time here tonight. So this at least tells me I don't think these drivers will be able to make it to lap number 50. I think what we're going to see is a 2-stop strategy because these drivers just came in after the first third of the race. Working now lap number 37, I do believe, as the leaders flash on by the start-finish line. So we'll keep an eye on how these cars perform, like McKee, like Brian Yazek, who are just now rolling back out onto the racetrack, trying to maybe get off strategy just a little bit. Meanwhile, battle for the race lead. Here comes the number 11 machine, Tyler Seville.
Wow.
Corey Silva has so far led every single lap, but just like that, Seville just whips around the outside of Silva's number 94, and he gets up to the point. So your Midwest Simulations Pole Award winner now back up to the front as you get a very good look there of Tyler Seville.
I'm sorry.
He's got some shade. He's got some shade, man. Doesn't he?
He just oozes cool. If I could just even get close to him, I'd be 100 times cooler. What an image. That just screams out confidence, and Tyler Seville definitely has all the confidence right now. He was actually dropping from Corey Silva, and just out of nowhere, it seemed, at least from my point of view, he was able to catch up and pass Corey Silva. And Greg Evans is there now. Greg Evans is in contention to pass, but the question is, when are they going to pit? We already had some drivers pitting, and maybe they couldn't make it to 50, but it was only those drivers. It's been 2 laps since, and no other drivers has made an effort to go down pit road as the battle for second heats up, and they're actually side by side into turns 1 and 2. So maybe this could be a battle between 1 stop versus 2 stops as Anthony Pelican goes down pit road. I don't know, Peter. You got 10 laps until halfway. If you can make it to halfway, that means you can stop just once and be good. But I don't know. Do you think there's too much delta between pitting twice?
I'm looking right now at the fall-off that we have seen versus their practice and qualifying lap times. I mean, Greg Evans, the last time by, ran a 42.8. You compare that to Tyler Seville, who ran a... you compare that to their qualifying time, which was like a 40.5. So they're about 2 seconds slower. The one thing about California is, we mentioned earlier, the pit boxes at this racetrack are huge. This is one of the longest pit roads in all of NASCAR. Here comes one of those cars on fresher tires, the 55 machine of Brian Yazek. With this pit lane being so long, you have such a long pit road delta time that it is really going to be a lot for some of these drivers like Brian Yazek to overcome that disadvantage of driving down there at 55 miles an hour down the entire length of the front straight. Now, one thing about this racetrack, Carlos, is it looks like this racetrack will not be like this for all too much longer. They're thinking of reconfiguring this racetrack from a 2-mile racetrack to a short track, where the pit road will almost be where the backstretch will be. I mean, that's how short of a racetrack they're going to make it. So it's going to be interesting to see that, but to answer your question, I shouldn't get too far from your question. To answer your question, I really do think that it's going to be difficult for Brian Yazek to make that up. But time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell indeed. And, all that could be for naught if we get a caution. let's say, if we get a caution like a lap 50, no, not even lap 50. If we get a caution once everybody has gone down pit road, then it'll probably clean up both of the strategies into kind of being the same. However, I don't know. How many laps would you like to go until you feel like you have to go down pit road if a caution comes out in this track?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I think if you're Brian Yazik, for all of you Yazik fans, he is back on the lead lap now. If a caution flag was to come out now, I think he would be sunk. Because everyone else would come down pit road, and I don't think he would come down to take tires. Of course, they do have limits on the number of sets of tires they have. But, I mean, you can see he's gaining about a second and a half per lap. But when all of your leaders come down pit road, then they're going to be faster, and so they're going to be trying to make up for that time differential. So it's not by any way, shape, or form going to be just Yazik going out there clicking off these laps, these fast laps for the remainder of the race. We got some more takers on pit road. That's Danny Gutierrez and Troy Haight. What about any of your leaders? Well, any of your leaders come down as Doug Mullins in the number 18 machine just made a move on Corey Silva to take away the third position. And here comes Jackson Van Valkenburg. He wants the third position away from Doug Mullins.
Yeah, Corey Silva looks like he's been dropping. But, I kind of feel like if he cannot make it to lap 51, then he should pit as soon as he can, just because of how slow his lap times are going, or how slow his tires are. He could also theoretically be just trying to save fuel. Remember, he was in the lead, so he definitely had no draft help at all, unlike some of these other drivers who maybe could have backed off a little bit earlier into the corners every single lap and was able to save enough to make it to lap 51. Now, we did get intel from a secret driver saying that some people are going to try to go for 51, but if you're in the lead or you don't have a good enough draft, it may be almost impossible.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be interesting to see who is going to make it to that point. I mean, I was thinking lap number 45 was when we would start to see some drivers, start to come down pit road low on fuel. Of course, this is lap number 45, right now. That's what I meant to say. So that 45 to 50 period, the period that we're in right now,
I don't know,
is really going to be make or break for a lot of drivers. We do have Flash Jordan in the chat. Flash Jordan. No, not Michael Jordan. Flash Gordon in the chat saying if they can't make it to lap number 50, then yes. I think that's in regards to Brian Yazik's strategy. But if they get to 50 and one stop, then Brian Yazik, it's game over for him.
Oh, new leader, by the way. I'm sorry, I just noticed it. Let's, we have the replay right here. Let's see if we can pull it up. Wasn't Flash Gordon the superhero or something?
I believe so, but speaking of superheroes, watch the number 2 machine. Greg Evans' new father recently had birth to one of his childs, and Greg Evans here up to the point once again, trying to go 3 in a row. And looking back live, he has about 0.2 of a second up on your Midwest Simulations Bowl Award winner as we close in on the halfway mark here in tonight's Gunskins.com California 200. And folks, I was checking out Gunskins.com prior to the race, and they got some really cool products. If you own a cool gun, go check them out, because you can buy one of their premium vinyl skins for the gun. It doesn't leave any residue if you want to remove it. And some really good looking skins that you can put on some guns. Really, really cool. Make sure you check out our friends over at Gunskins.com. One of the sponsors this year, and the Hacksaw PCs will be sponsoring a couple of races, and you'll see their logo here on the channel. As well as we got another taker down pit road. This is Jamie Moore in the number 82 machine coming down out of the Carolinas. Moore, one of the loneliest drivers out there on the racetrack right now, all by his lonesome onto pit road. As your race leader is flashed by once more. It'll be 52 laps to go. We're closing in on that magical halfway where you would expect to see these drivers only one stop.
Yes. Trying to see, some of these drivers that were in the back for sure should be able to make it. I'm just not seeing Corey Silva have, I don't know. I don't think he's been able to save enough for him to do it.
Well, we'll see. We'll find out now in about a lap and a half or so whether or not he can make it to the halfway mark.
We have a
But you
couple
also
more
have to
drivers down
remember,
pit road. Michael Whiting, sorry, Peter. Michael Whiting and Todd Kirkwood both making their way down pit road. Unfortunately, it seems like. All right, I kind of have to go back to what you said. Oh, whoa! As Todd Kirkwood missed his stall. I kind of have to go back to what you were saying. You were thinking some of these drivers would make it down lap 45. I don't know. If you can't make it to the halfway point, why not go for a two-stop strategy?
well, yeah, if you can't make it, then you might as well do the two-stop strategy and do it sooner rather than later. But we do know right now that your race leader, the number 2 machine, it will be halfway home this time for that number 2 of Greg Evans. So we know that
now.
He's on a one-stop strategy, and is he coming down? And he's got his hand out
He
the
is,
window,
yeah.
so he will. He will come it down pit road right at the halfway mark. So we know he's splitting the race into 2. So that is good news for him. Meanwhile, a couple of cars back behind him, Jackson Van Valkenburg, Corey Silva, Adam Jursky on pit road. So they made it to that magical number, which was the halfway mark. That's where they needed to get to make it on only a one-stop strategy. So this really, in my opinion, doesn't work out in the favor of Brian Yazik, who presumably will be on pit road here in another 16 laps or so to what will presumably be his last pit stop if we go caution free.
Tyler has to come in this time.
We do. But
he is.
I would expect Tyler Seville in that number 11 machine coming down. Now, here's the one thing about this, Carlos. If he can get onto pit road better than Greg Evans, he could actually take that lead back. But Evans is going to have one lap fresher tires.
Yeah, I just don't see it.
It will definitely help him out. Looking for any possible speeding penalties on pit road. I'm not seeing any. Looks like everyone so far who has come down pit road, as we see Tyler Seville, Doug Mullins, AJ Digby, Michael Krobach, Will Worser, Jared Haggerty, Michael Larch, and Tim Knott all coming down. Tim Knott was one of those drivers who really struggled in practice to get onto pit road. Looks like he was able to do so here under race conditions. That's good news. But so far, no speeding penalties. That's the good news. We did see a couple of drivers slide through their pit box. I believe Adam Blattel was one of those who slid through their pit box. Richard Fletcher might have slid through his pit box. But we got some other, I think we got the Yenishes out there right now. So even Jeff Yenish are the only 2 cars yet to pit in the entire field.
Greg Evans has just made it to the backstretch, and Tyler Seville is right now currently exiting on the access road. So, worked out well for Greg Evans. I did want to say, when I was watching Greg Evans actually come to a stop, and it was one of the smoothest stops I've ever seen. He came to a nice, clean stop, perfect in the middle. I did not see Tyler, so I don't know how, if he messed up or not, because he's lost quite a bit of time. As a matter of fact, Jimmy McKee and Jackson Van Valkenburg have actually been able to go by him with that one lap fresh tire difference.
And there is Jackson Van Valkenburg in the number 11 machine of Tyler Seville. Seville in those very, very fresh tires. You compare that to Van Valkenburg, who just has a lap older tires. It doesn't sound like a lot, but sometimes it does make all the difference. But for right now, Tyler Seville is going to get around that number 12 machine. So what about Brian Yazik? Where is he on the racetrack right now?
Brian Yazik? He is the race leader.
He is the race leader with...
I'm sorry, I can tell I ruined something you were going to plan up. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just trying to do the math here, folks, because currently Brian Yazik has a 13-second advantage. And we know that he's going to come down pit road here in just about maybe 14 laps from now, 10 to 14 laps, something like that from right now. Greg Evans in that number 2 machine, last time by ran a 41.1. You compare that to Yazik's 41.9, so about 0.8 of a second. So we think that when the number 55 comes down pit road, the race lead will be about 7 seconds. That is just not enough, Carlos, considering this pit lane, how long this pit lane is. He's going to have 16 lap fresher tires or thereabouts. It's just not going to work out for Brian Yazik unless he gets a caution at an opportune time. Jim Foose in the chat letting us know the drivers have a total of 4 sets of tires. That's 3 sets on their pit box from the start of the race. So we know that if Brian Yazik can get a caution flag between now and when he decides to come down pit road, he has an opportunity to leapfrog the field. Now, what Yazik might do, Carlos, is he might actually just stay out for as long as he can. Hope for that caution flag. Hope to see it again. Yazik about 0.7 of a second slower than Evans on that last lap. So Yazik here on a different strategy as we're in the second half of the race. We've been caution-free. If you're just now joining us in the Gunskins.com 200 here in the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC Premier Cup Series, it's race number 3 of the season. Greg Evans trying to go 3 for 3 here tonight on the 2021 season. But we're watching some great racing here between Mullins and Jackson Van Valkenburg, Carlos.
Now, Peter, I have a question. All right? This may seem a little bit unethical. You know how road course racing, especially some of the ringers who show up for NASCAR road course races, they kind of like doing the opposite of what you would normally do. So they would short pit right away and then go for long stints for the rest of the race, which is kind of like what would be the opposite if you tried to make it to lap 50 and couldn't, and then you try to pit again with like 10 or so laps to go, maybe not take tires and just take a little bit of fuel and try to come out. Do you think maybe that could be what Yazik could be trying? Kind of like short pitting now and then going long for the next time? Well, although I just don't think that's going to work still, because that would usually require you not taking any tires or like very little fuel right away.
Yeah, I'm just, again, doing the math, looking at
I'm not going to hit the math button
time.
again. I already hit it too much.
I'm looking at lap times. So the 2 laps that Greg Evans, when he came down pit road, he was 9 seconds slower in his first lap. That was his in lap. Then his next lap was 33 seconds slower than his normal lap. So you do the math. 11. It's 11 plus 33. That is 44 seconds slower over a 2-lap window. 44 seconds. If you drop that number 55 of Brian Yazik 44 seconds back, he currently is 10 seconds to the good as Tyler Seville whips around. Greg Evans moves up into the second position. Wow, where did he come from? You did have Flash Gordon in the chat saying that the Will Worcester machines, they don't have to save as much fuel as Greg Evans because they made it to lap number 51. That could be a very interesting thing here. But going back to the Brian Yazik thing, 40 to 45 seconds. If you drop him back 45 seconds right now, that would put him down in 31st position, the last car on the lead lap.
That's
so it's going to be difficult. He's going to have to race his way back up through the field. So we'll keep our eyes on Yazik, but I'm not sure that strategy is going to work out unless he gets an opportune caution. But I'm more interested in that number 11 machine. Tyler Seville ran down Greg Evans and got on by him and is now back up to second. There he is. Whoa, big wiggle out the back of that number 11 machine coming out of turn number 2. He corrals it. But that little gap that he had just gained on Greg Evans, that all of a sudden erased pretty quickly with that big wiggle.
Yeah. Well, we can't really discard, I should say. We can't discard any potential strange strategies because we've seen them almost work out, and usually it's the man, the myth, the legend, Jason Stewart, who has all these crazy strategies up his sleeve. Looks like a little bit kind of being non-strategic right now compared to what he normally would be doing last year. But hey, you know, he's kind of running in a nice, comfortable 16th. He's been up 8 positions and have the best qualifying run. But yeah, we can't discount Jason Stewart or any weird strategies because, you know, we may just not have the right idea in the head until we see it for ourselves now. Man, that race, I keep on thinking back to that race last year. I think it was a Charlotte, where his strategy was working, but he had race damage. And if he didn't have that race damage, he more than likely had that race won. Oh my God, leading the race with barely a front bumper, that was a sight to see for sure.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the more interesting times in last year's Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. That was a wild race, and I loved the different strategies that went on in it. And hopefully we'll get to see some more like that here in 2021. But there is the number 11 of Seville just pulling away now from Greg Evans on those slightly fresher tires, which might be what's allowing him to just pull away a little bit. But back behind then, the number 8 team machine at Doug Mullins, also one of those drivers who was able to go just one lap longer than Greg Evans. He's closed in on the back bumper, the number 2 machine, and behind them, Jackson Van Valkenburg, who pitted with Evans, is closing in on the number 2 machine. But is Evans just saving his tires? We saw him save his tires under that first run and get to the lead when it mattered most right there at the end. What's the gap to Brian Yazik in the 55 machine? He's got a 6-second race lead right now. Lap number 63. He's closing in on that 2/3 distance where we expect to see Yazik come down for what would be his final pit stop in the A3PSimulation.com Ford Mustang. Just waiting to see if that is true. Now down to just 5.5 seconds. So really losing ground is Brian Yazik on the cars behind, with Seville really mounting a charge right now, up to a half-second advantage over Greg Evans. Mullins on his back bumper. And what about Corey Silva, the number 94, who led the first 35 or so laps here tonight? He's currently riding in the 6th position, about 2 seconds or so back behind Seville, but definitely Corey Silva can't count him out here as the laps wind down here at Auto Club Speedway.
So it looks like it's maybe a couple laps until Tyler Seville is able to get to the back bumper, maybe start a battle for the lead. So how about we go ahead and stop into a little bit of overdrive for a little bit, and then we'll go through the field if it stays green. So why don't we go ahead and courtesy of Shano FX guitar pedals, let's stomp into some overdrive. And we're back.
All right, folks, welcome back to Auto Club Speedway and the Gunskins.com 200 first caution flag of the night. The 43 of Richard Fletcher, the number 6 of Jared Haggerty. A little bit of contact coming out of turn number 4. Watch this here on the replay. Tight there coming out of the corner, and just, I think, a little bit of a wiggle out the back of that number 6 machine. And Richard Fletcher going spinning into the grass. Luckily, it doesn't look like a whole lot of damage on that very patriotic number 43 scheme. And that will be caution flag number 1. It took 67 laps for it to come out. Bad news for Jordan Harnish and the number 27 machine. He was just on pit road, being scored 1 lap down in that number 27 machine. Good news is he should be able to get the wave around, as I expect to see pretty much everyone on pit road as we get a little bit of a slow-mo look of this contact, Carlo.
No netcode there. It's actually the first thing that came to my head. Is, tonight's actually looking pretty good in terms of, okay, that could have been a little bit of netcode hit on that rear end, but the contact for sure definitely did happen. And no netcode played a part, but yeah, tough luck for the 43, the 6, and the number, who was it that went down pair? The 27 of Jordan Harnish, am I correct?
Yeah, it was Harnish, and I think Harnish was on that same strategy as Brian Yazik. Those drivers electing to kind of look like they were going to do a 2-stop strategy. Well, now Yazik is going to do his 2-stop strategy, but luckily he's going to be able to do it under caution flag here, Carlos. And while we were just saying, we didn't think Yazek's strategy was going to work out. He got that opportune caution that we said he could get. And he came down pit road as the race leader. You see the rest of the field coming down. And Jordan Harnish, I bet you he's just kicking himself that he didn't stay out another 2 or 3 laps in his race car, as Brian Yazek going to peel out of his pit box to try and get back up into the fast lane here on pit road. And no, Yazek does not win the race off pit road. Tyler Seville
11, yeah,
got that first spot because of picking up that Midwest pole simulation, or the Midwest Simulations pole award. Second time I've done that here tonight. Was able to pick up that pole award, get that first pit box, and really helped him get out of pit box first. So we should see Tyler Seville lead us back to green here with just under 30 laps to go. We got people in the chat saying Flash Gordon and Noble Warrior 88 saying Yazek looks like a genius now. Noble Warrior also saying that'll be a penalty. So we did see multiple penalties assessed, Carlos, on pit road back at Daytona, where there was a lot of warnings handed out about drivers going into their pit box and stuff. And we might just have to wait and see whether or not there will be any additional penalties for drivers going through their pit boxes, or too many pit boxes, I should say, because you're allowed 3 pit boxes in, 3 pit boxes out. So all the admins will have to keep a close eye on that one. They'll watch it like a hawk to see if any drivers might have fallen foul of that. But we are getting word that Jared Haggerty will be given an end of longest line penalty for that contact with the number 43 of Richard Fletcher.
Yeah, more than likely claimed that penalty himself to avoid possibly having an issue with race control for the start of next week's race. Now, the majority of those penalties were, as a matter of fact, reversed and made into warnings for that Daytona race due to possibly a conflicting call or a non-aware statement that maybe race control had. We're not fully sure on the details. So the majority of those drivers were given warnings, and as a matter of fact, it was treated for everybody as a general warning. So race control definitely has their eyes peeled tonight for anybody that could have made a mistake entering pit road. So that is for sure. And we got one to go. I wanted to see if we could chat with the 55, but unfortunately we cannot do that right now. But yeah, Peter, it's definitely great plan by the 55. Not sure if that's exactly what he wanted to do, or if that is exactly what he wanted to do, but looking nice and calm in second place.
Yeah, that number 55, like I said, maybe he was thinking of staying out as long as he could to try and pick up that yellow. Well, he got it. And we're going to have a 30-lap shootout here in the Gunskins.com California 200. Pace truck heads down pit road. Tyler Seville right where he was at the start of the race, trying to get us to the green flag, and there he goes. Tyler Seville already out to the race lead, clear of the number 55 machine. And the side-by-side battles back behind him. Yazek getting close to the number 2 machine of Evans as they go off into turn number 1. Yazek trying to stay strong around that high line. We've seen that inside groove be the stronger of the 2 lanes, especially on the restart, but Yazek's got it wound up out there.
Yeah, he does. However, from what we've been seeing, especially with last year on these type of tracks, all these drivers get bunched up, and it's like a mini Daytona Talladega. So I don't think the 11 may be able to hold off the lead. It's more about who's going to be first when the tires start to wear, and you have to actually slow down more and more for the corner.
Oh man, a big wiggle out the back of the number 70 Amsoil machine of Scott Eckridge. He was 3 wide in the middle between Corey Silva and the number 14 machine of AJ Digby, as those 2 cars almost had a little bit of a coming together coming out of the corner. It's got a very big action shot there of one of the cars.
Not
here
sure.
Brian Yazek. Here comes Brian Yazek trying to pick up the race lead from Tyler Seville.
Yeah, and Brian Yazek does have the speed. He was losing a bunch of time to Greg Evans, but that's because of the 30-plus lap old tires he had. But now that, it's all, they all have relatively the same tire, we're seeing that the 55 is definitely capable of getting up front and leading. Now the question is, tire wear strategy. 30 laps to go, 28 actually now. They're not going to stop unless a caution comes out. The next question is, how hard can they push it? Because there's a fine line. Tire wear still exists. It may not be as strong as it maybe should be, but tire wear exists. And the question is, do you push it now, back off, and then push it again? Do you push it the whole time because, it's only 28 laps? Or are you just saving your stuff until like the last 10 laps and then going for it hard? What would you do in this case, Peter?
Well, I think I'd do what Greg Evans is doing, going around the number 55 machine of Brian Yazik, using that high line. Sometimes you can use that eye line to actually save a little bit of tire as well. But I think at this point, with the way we have seen caution flags come out in the American Sim Racing Series over the last, really the last 10 or so races going back to last season, we usually used to get a lot of green flag running, and then right at the very end of the race, you start to see cautions breed cautions. And I'm seeing some drivers out there really push it right now. Brian Yazik has actually fallen back to 5th. Scott Eckridge in the number 70 machine. No one out there is making moves like him right now in the Amsoil Chevy Camaro. Just was able to bulldoze his way up into the 4th position. I mean, he restarted around the 7th or 8th position, something like that. And here he is right behind Jackson Van Valkenburg. So we're definitely going to see these different strategies play out. I'm always one of those where I like to save tires, but with the way we have seen caution flags come out here in the series over the last, 10 or so races, it's go time. You don't want to hold back a whole lot, because if you get another caution, you're able to come down and get fresh tires, and I'm sure we will see drivers on pit road. Van Valkenburg with a little bit of a slide through turn number 3 and 4. Scott Eckridge running up the racetrack to try and get around him, but that 12 machine, he hit the apron a little bit right in the center of 3 and 4, and that broke him loose. That's opened up the door for Eckridge right here. Eckridge going to slide up into 3rd position. How about this charge from the number 70?
What a fantastic race by the 70 that he's pulling together. He's in a position right now where the race is pretty much in his hands. He's, the way it seems so far. There's no strategy. He doesn't have to go down pit road right now. He can't, he's not going to put himself in a position where he's going to make a mistake, either entering pit road or having an unlucky caution during a cycle. The race is in his hands, and unless a caution comes out that's going to change some things around, it's up to him to determine where he's going to finish tonight's race.
That is for sure. I'll tell you what, number 2 going for 3 in a row here on 3 Wide TV in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Boy, what a year it has already been for Greg Evans, being a new father. And you know what, Carlos, if you go back to last season, beyond the All-Star race, which we had at the Nashville Fairgrounds, Evans has actually won 4 in a row. He won the last 2 races last season at Martinsville and Phoenix, and then he's won the first 2 races of this season at Daytona and Homestead. So, at least from a points-paying race perspective, Evans has got 4 race wins in a row. He is just unbeatable, it seems like. But Tyler Seville, currently leading the race, he's the one who wants to try and beat that number 2 machine here tonight. Can he do so, as we have just 23 laps to go?
I kind of seem right there like the 11er Tyler Seville maybe got a little bit loose for like maybe 2 or 3 seconds. It wasn't bad enough where he had to make me feel like he had to back out of the throttle, but I could see the car actually like almost be at the slip angle where it would have just spun around. I believe that's the correct term. I mean, I may be wrong, but it was just on the edge, and I'm not sure if that did enough damage, but I just wanted to point it out. That last lap where, I don't know, it's just the way that the car shifted that it looked like. I think right now the 11, he's doing something. I think if he doesn't make a mistake, the 11 might actually win tonight's race. He just seems so on it right now.
Yeah, but he has a lot of pressure from back behind, and sometimes a little bit of pressure can make you crack, because Evans is laying the pressure on that number 11 machine, that is for sure. Scott Eckridge currently running in 3rd. What can he do with the top 2 as these laps wind down? Jackson Van Valkenburg, been a very strong night for the number 12 machine. They're running in the 4th position. And rounding out your top 5 there is Brian Yazik. He has Midwest Simulation Spotlights visual spotter system on the rear end of that number 55 machine, one of the Loud Pedal Motorsports Ford Mustangs in tonight's field. Doug Mullins running in 6th right now. Corey Silva back there in 7th. AJ Digby, Michael Krobach, and Cody Spiker, rounding out your top 10. And in fact, Michael Krobach, the other Loud Pedal Motorsports machine inside the top 10, he actually just gained a spot from Cody Spiker. So Spiker now sliding back to the 10th position in the number 19 Craftsman Chevrolet.
Well, Peter, we have 20 laps to go, and it seems like a perfect time for us to go ahead and go through the Menard field with 20 to go. All right, so Jim, make sure you send that check to me, not Peter. But yeah, with 20 laps to go. All right, Tyler Seville. I talked about him just a little bit ago. He just seems like it's his night tonight. I don't know. It's just like watching him go through that corner. I think he's got it. He's doing a fine job. People in chat are saying he should have won last week. And he's in prime contention to win tonight's race with 20, almost 19 laps to go. Currently in second place, Greg Evans, going for 3 in a row. I want to see it. We all want to see it, except for Jim and all the other drivers in the field. But I don't know. It's not going to be easy, like you mentioned. He has to go through Tyler Seville. Scott is there. Scott Eckrich is there. And speaking of Scott, kind of where did he come from? Was he in the top? He should have been. I think he was racing in the top 10 all night long. He started in second. He's I believe, unless I'm incorrect, a new driver to this league. At least he wasn't racing last year. And he's doing a fine job showing everybody just where he is. Jackson Van Valkenburg from Never Lift Motorsports. I actually haven't seen him lift yet. He got loose one point, exiting our corner, got so loose, but he actually was able to maintain the same speed as the other drivers going side by side. So that just proved that this guy deserves to be in Never Lift Motorsports with a nice, solid top 5 right now. Brian Yazik up 10 spots from Loud Pedal Motorsports. He's having himself a nice night and is going to capitalize on a fantastic finish. But the race is not over. With 17 laps to go, he's running some pretty decent lap times. Not the same as the leader, only about 5 or so hundredths off. But if the right chance is there, he might be able to take it. Peter, on to you.
Yeah, we got Doug Mullins right there running in the number 18 machine, back right behind him. In fact, he was battling with Yazik for that 5th position just a couple laps ago, but as you can see, he has fallen off just a little bit. But been a good night for Doug Mullins. They're kind of hovering around the 5th position for a majority of tonight's Gunskins.com California 200. But all things considered, pretty good night for this number 18 machine. Back behind him, Corey Silva, who led the first 30 or so laps. He's now slid back to the 7th position, battling there with AJ Digby. Digby, the 8th place car. At least last time by, these two were actually flipped. It was AJ Digby in 7th, Corey Silva in the 8th spot. But now, as you can see, Silva has a slim margin of advantage over that 14 machine. Will they continue to flip-flop? We'll have to wait and see. But AJ Digby has had a pretty quiet night running just inside the top 10. All things considered, a quiet night inside the top 10 is usually a pretty darn good night. And that's what we're seeing out of that number 14 machine as he tries to work his way around that number 94 machine to his outside. Digby running down there on the inside, just able to clear him there coming out of turn number 2. Back behind them, Michael Krobach in the number 72 machine is now Corey Silva trying to get back underneath AJ Digby. We'll check back in on that battle here in just a little bit. Michael Krobach down there in 9th in the HPPsimulation.com Ford. A few spots back behind his teammate. They kind of split the strategies in Loud Pedal Motorsports with Michael Krobach trying to go with that one-stop strategy. Worked out a little bit better for Brian Yazik, all things considered, since he got that lucky caution. But, Carlos, we have a new race leader up at the front of the field, and it is Greg Evans in the number 2 machine.
Oh, wow, we completely missed that, but that's fine because we can go back and try to see if we can find that replay. He passed Tyler Silva. Must have been a little while ago. I'm not seeing his name pop up. Yeah, there we go. Lap 84 was when it happened. Let's go back and take a look and see just how he got around that number 11. With enough speed, looks like he got a really good exit off of turn number 2. Goes to his inside. Usually the inside's going to be hard to pass, but he's able to make it work. The 11 committed to a little bit of a higher line and was able to clear him. And even though the high line generates a lot of speed on the exit of the corners, just wasn't enough. That 2 car is on rails right now.
Yeah, the 2 car has turned on the jets. He has now got himself up to a 6/10 of a second race lead. Meanwhile, we watch this a little bit further back. That's the 55 and the 18. I mentioned as we went through the field there that the 18 had caught the 55 and then he'd fallen back. Well, now he's mounting another charge, trying to get past Yazik. But of course, Yazik wants to hold on to that top 5, and Yazik actually might want to pick up 4th spot from Jackson Van Valkenburg in front of them. So we'll continue to watch this. It cools off there for just a moment. Let's check in on that AJ Digby Corey Silva battle, because it looks like AJ Digby has finally been able to fend off the number 94 machine. So Digby going to hold on to 7th right now. Silva still in 8th. We'll see how that all pans out. But Krobach is actually closing in on these two. You see that number 72 machine back there. There he is right there.
Who is second in points, Peter?
The number 27 machine is second place in points.
Yes.
That's Jordan Harnish being currently running all the way down in 26th
Yeah,
position.
I wanted to say, you know, Greg Evans has been perfect as Scott Eckrich is battling for second place, but Greg Evans has been perfect. However, only 3 drivers have scored a top 5 finish in both races, and that's Greg Evans, AJ Digby, and number 27 of Jordan Harnish. And I do not think, unless something really, really gets different, I don't think Jordan Harnish will be able to pass enough cars with 12 laps to go to get himself into the top 5. Greg Evans, well, he's in the lead. He may be going for 3 in a row this season and 5 in a row on points-paying races in ASRS. But AJ Digby, he's 2 spots back from 5th place, currently at 7th, and they're both kind of right there in front of him. If these guys start going side by side, even with 4th place being right there, that could be enough for AJ Digby to snag a 3rd straight top 5 finish.
And how about Scott Eckrich? Not only was he able to catch Tyler Seville, got around him as well. That number 70 machine, what can he do? Can he run down Greg Evans? He's a second back behind that number 2 Mobile, though, here in the closing laps with just now 11 laps to go. Make that 10 when they go across the start-finish line this time. Greg Evans has really turned on the jets, like I mentioned, up to a second lead.
Did he just hit the wall?
Evans he did just hit the wall. Right side damage on the number 2 machine, and he's going to lose a ton of ground. Eckrich closing in visibly here on the front stretch. That 1 second lead is now down to a half second, and Evans has right side damage.
We have to see this. Wow, I cannot believe that just happened.
Yeah, you see him just get there up into the marbles and just kisses the wall. A little bit of an unforced error there by the number 2 machine of Evans. And I don't think that car is up to full speed. I think that damage is affecting him because Eckrich really able to close in. You see Eckrich holding a little bit lower line coming out of turn number 4 as well. Evans really having to push that number 2 machine. 9 laps to go this time by.
Yeah, the commentators got on the gyro cam for Scott Ettrich's machine, and it looks like we accidentally pressed R2 to intimidate, and Greg Evans just, I don't know if there was a mental mistake or if maybe there was a computer issue, because I've sometimes raced in iRacing, and I would have like a frame stutter or two, and in the right place, in the right time, with the speeds these guys are going and everything, it could lead to him losing exactly where he was and hitting the wall. Greg Evans is not one to make these type of mental mistakes. So but it's it's not impossible. Everybody makes mistakes at some point. Even the most professional racers would make mistakes. So right now, battle for the lead as the number 70 of Scott Eckrich is battling, and he's gonna take the inside line to see if he can get the lead. And he is clear. I'm not seeing the number 2. He's trying. Oh, he's trying. I'm just not seeing that car get enough turn. And the 70's going to block, but we may have a crossover, Peter.
Yep, there's the crossover. Evans now back to the inside of the number 70 machine. And as they do battle, it's going to bring the next train of cars ever so closer. 2 on the inside, Eckrich on the outside. Eckrich trying to get that loud pedal down in the number 70 machine, trying to fend off the number 2. This is a great battle. 8 more laps, make that 7 laps to go here in the Gunskins.com 200 here at Auto Club Speedway with side-by-side for the race lead.
Yes, and for the comments in chat, I'm not saying that it was definitely frame stutter. I'm just saying that he could have made a mental mistake. It could have also been frame stutter. I'm just trying to explain the possible reasonings as we have a brand new race leader. The number 7 is Scott Eckrich, looking to see if he can get his first ASRS win. Am I correct? He is a rookie, right?
I believe Eckrich has been around in the American Sim Racing Series for quite some time, Carlos, and
Yes.
I think he kind of coming back this season to the Premier Series. So Eckrich on the loud pedal here out front. We have just eclipsed the 1 hour mark just a little while ago here on 3 White TV in this race. This race going by very quickly. If you're just now joining us, only one caution
Oh, that 11 is loose.
here tonight.
Oh, wait, who is this? The 55 smacked the wall. Number 18 of Doug Mullins is now going to his inside. Kind of almost ended up turning the 55 when the 55 tried to block. I don't know how close it was, but the 55 did hit the wall. Same thing with the number 11 of Tyler Seville, although his was nowhere near as bad, and if anything, kind of just helped stabilize a loose machine. As Tyler Seville is going to get ready to possibly pass the number 2 of Greg Evans on the closing laps. Almost 3 wide actually for fifth place around there. Definitely a turn of events. I really did not see this happening, and unless something happens to Scott Eckrich, Greg Evans' race is pretty much gone. Well, the win for at least. He can still finish a nice, strong top 5 finish. Taking a look at AJ Digby, currently in 6th. He's got him by this person. He's got him by Corey Silva. Now he just needs to get by Brian Yazek to maintain that top 5 streak. With 4 laps to go coming at the line, it's definitely possible. Brian Yazek's there. Jackson Van Volkenberg's there, of course. Tyler Seville could start battling Greg Evans, which could check up the field. And, you know, anybody of these drivers can make a mistake and hit the wall. So it's not over for AJ Digby to keep that streak alive. And Scott, I really am sorry. I'm just a producer. I make sure this thing gets on air. I usually don't really spend too much time reminding myself of previous drivers for ASRS. So I do apologize, but you have nothing to worry about, because with 3 laps to go coming this time by, he is pulling away. Almost has a 3/4 second lead to Evans, and Evans, unless something changes right now, is no threat for the lead. Tyler Seville is right there. He's going to start battling for second place very, very soon. And depending on how long it takes for him to get by the struggling number 2, they could start stacking up the field.
Yeah, that it could, but the laps are winding down. Now just 3 laps to go, as that is Michael Whiting in the number 44 machine. Did he just have to make an unscheduled pit stop in that race car? No, not exactly sure what happened to the 44 of Whiting. Looks like Whiting is coming down pit road. Looks like he might have been out of fuel.
Kirkwood too.
Yeah, Todd Kirkwood also coming down pit road right now. Todd being scored in the 34th position right now. But up at
Here's
the front.
something interesting, actually. I'm sorry, Peter. 2 laps ago, it was 0.7 of a second from first to second. It's still somewhat the same, so it looks like... Oh, okay, well, never mind. Now that I mention it, he's starting to drop a little bit more, but I don't know, it's kind of fluctuating around that 7, 8, almost 0.9 of a second. So Greg Evans doing a really good job. He may be able to secure himself a nice, fun second place finish, as AJ Digby starting to battle number 55 of Brian Yazek. This will be to maintain that top 5 streak alive. Maybe not as important as that win streak, but still, that's gonna be a good points night for AJ Digby. However, Corey Silva, Doug Mullins, Michael Krobach, they're all there. If these two continue battling side by side on the last lap, I should say, then he may lose it all, as on the backstretch, number 70 has no fear right now. As long as he doesn't make a mistake exiting number 4, he should find himself to be a winner.
Scott Eckrich working his way through turn number 3 and 4, was a winner in 2018 here in the American Sim Racing Series. Works his way coming out of turn number 4, and he's going to go to victory lane 3 years later in 2021. The number 70 takes the checkered here in the Gunskins 200. Greg Evans coming up 1 spot short on that attempt to go 3 for 3 in 2021. And Tyler Seville, the number 11 machine, who had such a good run last week at Homestead, Miami, in the 3-wide TV 200. He's going to come home in 3rd. Van Volkenberg in 4th. And AJ Digby able to pick up 5th spot on the final lap. Corey Silva also able to scoot on by Yazek, who falls down to 7th. A very eventful final lap here at Auto Club.
Yes, indeed. Scott Equich, who has won before, so I do apologize, is going to try to burn it down 3 years later in 2021 in the third race of the season. What a fantastic job by Scott. He was there to capitalize on a mistake, possible mistake from Greg Evans, and he's going to find himself to be the second winner of this 2021 ASRS Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series Championship.
Yeah, what a fantastic race, and another race here with only a single caution. That's 2 weeks in a row as that number 70 knows how to light up the rear tires. What a fantastic burnout here right across the start-finish line. I'll tell you what, that is one of the best burnouts I've seen in quite some time here on 3Y.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it keeps it going there, Carlos.
Wow, I don't think I've ever seen that in 3Y TV. I know, like, in real life, like, I think Hamlin loves doing that when he wins, but... And I've tried doing that. I know I'm not a winner, so I practice by myself, but I've tried doing that. And that's very hard to do, what he just did. That just shows the total car control that he has. The NASCAR 06 total car control.
Isn't that total team control?
It is. I kind of realized that halfway through the joke, but I was committed. I couldn't really back out.
Yeah, definitely a fantastic burnout there for the number 70. And what a performance there. Started on the outside pole at the start of the race and fell back all the way back to about the 10th position when that caution flag fell, and then just lit it up once that green flag fell, was able to slice and dice his way up there, up into the 3rd position, and then taking 2nd and ultimately the lead away inside 10 laps to go. Definitely going to be an interesting interview when we come back, folks, because we're going to talk to our top 3 finishers right here, so don't go anywhere.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
All right, folks, we are back here at the Auto Club Speedway, where tonight's Gunskins 200, Gunskins.com 200 has come to its conclusion. Let's see if we can get some of those post-race interviews lined up for you, starting with driver of the number 11 machine, that being Tyler Seville in his car. And Tyler, you started off the night here on 3Y TV by picking up the Midwest Simulations Pole Award, but in the end, you came up a couple of positions short. Strong run for you again here tonight. You got to be thinking that you're knocking on the door here each and every week in the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC Premier Cup Series. What do you think you could have done differently tonight to get to the checkered flag?
The only thing I could have done would have been to save tires there at the beginning part of that last run. But even then, I don't know if it would have been enough. It certainly would have been a good battle. Had Greg not gotten into the wall there at the end, it would have been a great battle too. But yeah, after we got out of Daytona, 2 strong runs, and if I keep clicking these off, the wins will come.
Yeah, that is for sure a really strong run for you again here tonight. I know you had several fans in the chat rooting you on lap after lap, and you did lead a decent portion of the race as well. You led 24 laps. What are your thoughts about this racetrack? Some people like it, some people dislike it. It's one of those that, in my opinion, this racetrack tends to be fairly polarizing amongst different drivers. What are your thoughts?
I like it. It reminds me a lot of Michigan, and I like those. I like the bigger tracks in general because I feel like you have to be more precise in the lines that you run, just because you mess up a little bit, and that can mess you up for the entire lap. So I like these.
Yeah, that is definitely for sure. We saw you get that win last season at Michigan. That's another one of those 2-mile racetracks. And here tonight, started on the pole, very strong run. But, we have some interesting races coming up in the schedule. Speaking of those races, we go next week as, whoa, I do apologize. My good old Dan Lisa freaking out on me. Next week, we go to Las Vegas for the Dirty Bird Sim Racing Las Vegas 200. What are your thoughts about that mile-and-a-half racetrack?
Looking forward to it because if you remember last season in the playoffs, I had the lead going into turn 4 and just completely lost it on my own. So the plan is to do the same thing again, but have a different result.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the biggest moments of the Hacksaw PC's playoffs last season. And like you said, you're hoping to have a repeat of everything but the final lap next week. But that should definitely be a good race. Before we let you go, Tyler, you got any shout-outs for us?
Yeah, I have to thank High Flow. They're on board the car for this season. And have to thank all of my teammates at Worsler Racing. We put in a good amount of practice each week, and I think it's starting to show up where any given week we have 2, 3, even 4 cars battling for top 5, top 10 spots. So got to thank all of them.
Absolutely. Well, Tyler, great run for you. Like I said, and like you said, you just got to keep finishing up here, and those wins will come. But we'll see you again next week at Vegas.
All right, thank you.
All right, and I believe that Mr. Carlos Acosta is with the driver who just came up a little bit short of going 3 for 3 in 2021, the number 2 machine of Greg Evans there, Carlos.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear, and Greg, we will personally take the blame on that right there. We were pretty much looking at you when that happened. You ended up tapping the outside wall, unsure what happened. But before we do even ask what happened there, why don't you go ahead and tell us about just how the car was tonight?
Man, the car was actually really good. It was, really loose on the first 2-3 laps, but if you saved your tires, the setup really came in. Man, I think we did pretty much everything right tonight except for that one lap. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I clipped the apron a little bit or something, but as soon as I got back in the gas, I felt it going towards the wall, and I started backpedaling, trying to keep it out of the wall, and it just sucked me in. But I mean, it's, you can't be too upset about it. I kind of feel like we gave one away, but I know Scott was coming. He's always real fast. But it's just one of them things. But you can't be too upset with the second place, though.
Yeah, well done for sure. You still have your top 5 streak going on. Both you and AJ Digby are currently the only 2 drivers who have scored a top 5 in every single race. Definitely had the speed. Unfortunate circumstances there pretty much late prevented you from getting your 3rd straight win in a row, and actually technically would have been your 5th straight points-paying win in a row. However, you do see the positive in this. You had a great night, great points finish. You're still going to be the points leader, and you're going to be going into next week's race with even more momentum. So Greg Evans, before we do let you go, are you excited for next week's race? Is this something that you can see yourself also winning?
Let me look and see where we're even racing next week. I really don't know.
Peter, where are we racing again?
Oh,
Vegas.
Vegas, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I think we finished 2nd or 3rd there to Jenkins last year. John was really good at Las Vegas, so hopefully we picked up some stuff from him, and we'll have a good race there. I'm really ready to get to Phoenix and some short track races. Something different than. I'm not a big fan of Auto Club or Las Vegas, but we'll kind of see what happens. If we can get a top 5, we'll be happy for that.
That's a great goal to strive for. Leaving tonight, not necessarily a winner, but you are capable of winning that race, and you still have that top 5 streak and points lead going for you. So before we fully do let you go, once again, Greg, you have any shout-outs you want to go ahead and give out?
Yes, sir. Got to thank Maverick Concepts, iRacing, iFlag, Freightliner, duct tape and sure tape for last year. Still trying to work on that deal for this year. and just all my guys from Steel Horse Racing. Gotta thank all those guys for everything they're doing. Hacksaw PC and Sam Maxwell for the wheel. And it makes everything different. Definitely a step up from what I had before, and hopefully we're kind of giving them a good representation of what they've gave us.
Yes, indeed. Well, congratulations on a fantastic race. Second place ain't too bad, and we'll look forward to seeing what you got next week at Las Vegas.
Sounds good, guys. And thank you guys for broadcasting. Have a good night.
Good night.
All right, well, folks, that's going to do it for our second place finisher, Greg Evans. But I'm now going down to victory lane, where Scott Eckrich has made his way back to victory lane here in the series. That number 70 machine started on the outside pole. It looked like you had fallen to around the 10th position before that yellow flag came out with about 35 laps to go. But wow, once the green flag dropped, you shot out like a cannon, worked your way up into the top three, and they're pouncing on Tyler Seville and Greg Evans in the closing laps. Tell us about your night there, Scott.
Yeah, it actually got started a little bit worse than that. I actually missed the grid. I had some technical issues there. So I had to start from the pits there, and it's rough back there. So it took a long time. And then that caution kind of cycled us back forward there, and allowed us to kind of catch back up there. So had it not been for that, I think Greg or Tyler would have been gone tonight.
Well, definitely considering that is one Herculean effort to go from the back of the pack to the front and starting on pit road. I mean, that is super impressive for you and that number 70 machine. I think we both missed that up here in the booth at the start of the race, but all things considered, wow, picking up a win in race number 3. And of course, you didn't have the finish you wanted to back at Daytona or Homestead, but really making a statement here tonight.
Yeah, that pit strategy bit us last week, but I think it paid back what it owed me this week. So,
well, definitely going to be making strides in the point side of things, especially with it being so early in the season. Next week, we got the Dirty Bird Sim Racing Las Vegas 200 at that 1.5 mile racetrack out in the desert. What are your thoughts about Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, it's just really hard to tell with these tracks right now. It's just I know it should be fun, but I don't know who is going to win these things anymore.
Yeah, definitely the quality of the competition here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series is at an all-time high, and really anyone out there on the racetrack can take home the win, although Greg Evans had won the first 2 races and almost came up with one here tonight. What was going through your mind when he hit the wall there with about 9 laps to go?
Well, he hit it. My first thought was, dang, I hope he hit it harder. I wish he would have hit it harder. I was thinking it wasn't going to quite be enough, but no, it's just I knew that was definitely an opening because I knew it was going to be hard to get there, without that. So I knew that would be our best chance if we could get to him right there on that straightaway, but didn't quite make it. But I think it hurt his speed a little bit, and I think ultimately it helped us.
Yeah, definitely a fantastic run for you and that number 70 machine, and got a little bit fortune there at the end with Evans there hitting the wall. But all things considered, what a great race for you, and we're looking forward to seeing what you can do as the season goes on. I know a multi-time winner here in the American Sim Racing Series yourself. Gonna be a fun season. What are your thoughts about the long season that we have in front of us?
Yeah, I was trying to set my expectations pretty low. It has been a couple years since I've done regular sim racing, but I guess this sets my expectations a little bit higher for what I expect to do this year. So hopefully we can give Greg some run for his money. I saw he was pretty dominant last year, so I guess we'll do our best to race with him every week.
Absolutely. If you're around Greg Evans on the racetrack, you're in a pretty good spot on the scoring pylon. That is for dang sure. But before we let you go, Scott, any shout-outs that you'd like to give?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Loud Pedal Motorsports for the help with the practice server before the race. That was definitely really nice. And of course, you guys for broadcasting this stuff every week.
Absolutely. We have a lot of fun up here in the booth calling it. And I got to say, Greg Evans, he's the man to beat. And you're able to get the checkered flag here tonight. Job well done, Scott. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our post-race interviews here tonight on 3 Wide TV. And Carlos, I think it's about time that we dial up tonight's final race results here for the Gunskins.com California 200. Carlos.
Yeah, I think it's about time that we go ahead and just pretty much show the finishing results. Let me go ahead and pull it up. Make sure I select no points. There it is. In first place, of course, none other than Scott Eckrich, who we saw able to get by Greg Evans. Use that opening from when Greg Evans... he's fully still not sure what happened. For sure, it was a mistake on his end. Ended up getting too tight and hit the wall. Was able to hold off Tyler Seville. All right, tonight's pole sitter. Tyler Seville had definitely a strong car. Ended up finishing third. Nice consistent finish with Jackson Van Valkenburg in fourth, carrying himself 6 positions higher from where he started. 13 positions higher. AJ Digby ended up finishing 5th. That's just where he needed to finish to maintain that top 5 streak intact. So right now it's Greg Evans and AJ Digby who currently are the only drivers to finish in the top 5 all 3 races this season. Corey Selba finishing in 6th, Brian Yosik in 7th, Michael Krolbach finishing in 8th with Doug Mullen in 9th, and Jason Stewart rounding out the top 10 quickly with Brian Yosik. That strategy allowed him to finish 8 positions higher than where he qualified. So definitely, even though he didn't win tonight's race, I still feel like that caution coming out and the strategy he put himself in definitely earned him a nice, smooth finish for tonight's race. But Peter, you got 11th and down.
Yeah, Jimmy McKee coming home in 11th, right in front of the Beef Jerski's Cheesecakes machine of Adam Jersky. Danny Gutierrez in his number 08, finishing in 13th. Steve Yenish coming home in 14th. Evan Black, 16th. Will Worsler, 17th. Jared Haggerty, John Eckhart, and Troy Haight running out the top 20, Carlos.
In 21st, we have Larry Orn with Jeff Yenich in 22nd. Cody Spiker in 23rd with Tim Knott in 24th. Pete Baskin, Jordan Harnish, and Joshua Bedell is 25th through 27th. Adam Hoagland in 28th. Anthony Pelican in 29th. And finishing in 30th is Grant Brown.
Adam Blettel finishing in 31st. Jamie Moore in 32nd. Richard Fletcher, Michael Larch, 33rd, 34th. Jonathan Holstein, Todd Kirkwood, 35th and 36th. Michael Whiting and Nick Curling succumbing to connection issues on lap number 24 here tonight. He said that his network adapter just randomly turned off in the middle of the race. That is really unfortunate. And then Thomas J. George and Woody Mahan, really the only significant contact that we saw with the wall here tonight was both of those drivers happening on lap number 2 of this 200-mile, 100-lap event that we had here tonight. And there is the provisional point standings after tonight, with Greg Evans continuing to lead up at the top of the board. AJ Digby will jump up into second, like you mentioned, Carlos, with those 3 consecutive top 5s. But then how about Jimmy McKee, one of your playoff drivers, starting to work his way up towards...
That's your Final Four driver.
Playoff driver. Yeah, it was a Final Four driver last season. We have a long way to go to the Final Four this season. But definitely he's moving his way up, as is Tyler Seville in that number 11 machine inside the top 5. So definitely going to be interesting to see how these points pan out. Look at that big move down there. 11th spot, Scott Eckrich really moving up. Eckrich moving up 12 positions there, just outside the top 10.
Yes, I do want to state this is for sure unofficial. We do not have track of all the bonus points that are gonna be given out for laps led, most laps led, even fastest lap, and the most important that a lot of drivers got last race, and they're gonna get this race, clean race bonus points. So definitely unofficial. So expect to see some of the points change up a little, but this is roughly based on the actual race points they earned, what the points would look like.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, they are the provisional points, unofficial points, but you can definitely kind of get the trends and figuring out somewhat how it's going to look when the official points finally do work their way up. But big shout out to Gunskins.com for sponsoring tonight's race. Make sure you check them out. Professional vinyl skins for many different types of guns. Very cool to have them on board, as well as the other series sponsors such as Dirty Bird Sim Racing, American Regardless, Whole Sheet Metal, Sim Speed Shop. Of course, they'll be bringing you the Wheelman Showdown this season. Very much looking forward to round number 1 of the Sim Speed Shop Wheelman Showdown, which will happen race number 6, March 24th at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Going to be really awesome to see who's going to pick up that Sim Speed Shop wheel this year. I know we had a great championship within a championship with the Wheelman Showdown last year, so it should be a lot of fun. We got some great races coming up, like next week in Las Vegas. Carlos, I'm looking forward to go to Sin City.
I am. It's going to be a blast, but I'm also looking forward to having Greg back in the booth. Greg misses the fact that he couldn't join tonight or last week, but for sure Greg will be back for the majority of the remaining races. Is actually aiming to get to the rest of this whole upcoming season. Of course, we'll see with how plans are and everything, and we can, But looking forward to getting Greg back in the booth, and Peter, the dream team. It's gonna happen next week. I can't wait.
Yeah, that's right. Greg Rentz will be back in the booth. We'll get those cheesecakes of the race lined up for you each and every week, and I'm looking forward to it here on 3Y TV. But before we go, big shout out to Hacksaw PCs as well, the series sponsor here of the Hacksaw PCs Premier Cup Series, as well as our friends over at Sim TV for the camera angles that we bring you each and every week here on the channel. But Carlos, I think that's going to do it. So folks, stay safe, be well, and we shall see ya.